Scunthorpe United had lost 4-0 at home to Exeter City this afternoon.
Love it.
Open wide for some soccer!
Good afternoon, everybody. Please forgive the earlier broadcast time today. There is a Grand Prix going on at 8 o'clock and it's getting a bit spicy there. So my love for football is waning and Formula One is where it's at. We are delighted to be joined by Ian for the first time this year with an exceptionally non-flattering camera angle right now. Is everything all right there?
Is that sorry, Alex? Yeah. Oh, good. Thank you. Yeah. How are you?
Yeah, great to have you back. Also making his podcast debut because simply he's at least more committed than everybody here today. Jordan, kindly thank you very much for joining us and thank you for going yesterday so you can report back on the misery of yesterday, or if it was, in fact. Thank you very much for joining us.
No worries, Alex. Thanks for having me.
Are you in Derby now then? I've heard you're a uni student, right?
Yeah, I'm living in Hulls at the minute. Yeah, doing the football journalism course over here, and so I'm loving it at the minute.
Nice one. And have you? I don't think you changed the shirt. Oh no, is this the new one? Is this the? Where do you get these ones? There's some sort of black market going on.
They're on loan. No, the black market. They're originals. It's original mid-80s Finders from Dave Werry, who offered to lend me as I was getting a bit low on shirts, but. Yeah, you could have bloody saved me today. I'm changing the time to 4 o'clock. I'd got out of this hard sell at 8 o'clock. But
I know. What can I say? Well, if it means that Ian comes back and we can have his voice, then why would we not change it? Look, anybody who's sorry, I was being far too kind.
No, we need to change that intro as well, don't we? Can't we just have some? There's too many goals on it. Can't we just have pictures of sort of Tony Crane booting it over the pontoon or something?
Oh, that's a brilliant one. That should be our version of like Mighty Mariner, when he's happy, miserable, or sad, dependent on the result. We can have one where, if we lose, it's just footage of Matt Green, and then
I'll put something together for you. I'll have a look when I've got time.
Yeah.
I want to depress
what
myself
should
even
draws
more.
be? Draws should just be really good saves,
or saves, or perhaps penalties where you should score.
or just every penalty miss we've had this season. Look, we would love you to get involved. You do have the opportunity to do so if you're on Twitter, YouTube, or on Facebook. Add in any comments underneath. It'll come through to us. Any thoughts? I mean, hey, if you went yesterday, you're going to beat 3 of us. So please do feel free to throw them in there. And I'm throwing my arms around, I don't know, like I'm walking down a slide. So, I mean, we can't really delay it any longer. We are out of the cup. What seemed to be a very fortunate draw at the start of when the balls were taken out has come back and bit us well and truly on the arse. Jordan, you were there. What was it like? What were your overall thoughts?
I think to start with, it just wasn't great. I thought on the whole. Obviously, you saw the draw that was made, Kidderminster away. League below, you'd more than fancy our chances. But it just everything just slow. That's what I feel anyway. They got the goal. For 20 minutes from the penalty. I'm sure we'll get onto that. But I think everything we tried to do yesterday just didn't pull off at all. Kidderminster, sorry. I'd probably say were the more hungry of the sides. They really were. I think we gave them a little bit too much respect, and it just wasn't great on the whole. I don't think.
It seems to be becoming a running theme at the moment. I mean, I can't comment on yesterday, which is sort of what we'll always throw to you. But the games that I've seen this year, so it's not me. If we lose to Kidderminster, it can't be me. I thought we were outworked at Maidenhead. I thought we were outworked at Wealdstone, and I thought we were as good as Bromley, and I would have expected us to be better. And it sounds like we were outworked yesterday as well. And that's not what I'd expect of a Paul Hurst team. And from what he's saying, that's not what he expects either. I don't know what you gentlemen think, and I'll happily throw it to the panel. But he didn't throw any players under the bus, but he's saying he's starting to ask questions of some of them. Are there any players in particular that you think are for his wrath, or are sort of disappointing him at the moment? Everybody throws to Lenny, everybody throws to up front, but it feels to me that we're not even creating the chances for strikers to miss at the moment. Never mind throwing our ire that way.
What you've just said there is pretty much what I was going to say anyway. There's been a lot of talk of missing McAtee, and obviously that has had an impact, and Lenny coming into the team with Taylor a little bit more recently. But from everything I've read about yesterday, people have been commenting saying we didn't actually create anything. Obviously, we changed the formation with a lot of our more creative players missing. Sounds like that. Well, doesn't sound like it. Clearly didn't work. And I think I even saw a bit of a tongue-in-cheek comment from somebody on Twitter saying there's not a lot of updates today, which I'm sure Jordan will let us know. Just feels like basically because there was nothing to update on for most of the game. Feels like we basically tried something new, didn't work, and I wouldn't be surprised if one or two of those players that were given a bit of a chance yesterday find themselves back out of the team again for a little bit longer.
Jordan, one of the things you said as well that is not hard to ignore, it's really slow. I don't know what you feel, but it feels at times like we're very comfortable on the ball, but I think the opposition are very aware of that now and are happy for us to have the ball on the halfway line and do nothing with it. Was that the same as the case yesterday?
Pretty much so. I think, when we tried to get a rhythm going, they were really quick. They were really quick to react, and I think at times as well, we just didn't know what to do with it because at times was just constantly pressing us. It feels like we were panicking in quite a lot of scenarios. So yeah, that was definitely a concern. You can see why they've done quite well recently and why they're in the playoffs in their respective league and the league below. But yeah, it was just very frustrating. Some of the football we tried to play today.
I think we miss Alex. I think we miss Hunt massively.
Yeah.
My opinion is that the rest of the players that we play in that standard formation, I know we changed it a little bit yesterday, but the three sort of central midfielders, I think I'm not sure that I would need to look back at the teams that we've played earlier in the season when things were going a bit better, but we haven't played. Alex Hunt has only played the Notts County game out of those three. And in the Notts County game, we created chances, but just didn't take them. That was more of a sucker punch. It sounds like yesterday was more like Wealdstone, where we never got going. We didn't look right. It just was miles off the pace. But he came on, if you remember, in about the 90th minute for Coke. And I just wonder whether Fox and Coke are too similar in midfield. I know Fox maybe gets forward a little bit more and he's a bit younger, but the two of them, are either of them going to slide a ball through for a forward running onto, or are they more likely to pass it, sort of keep the possession like you just talked about, keep comfortable possession, but and perhaps break up their attacks? But have we got enough creativity in that team at the minute? Just going back to Ian's point, now I don't know whether I misread it, but a lot of the missing players yesterday were down to injury and not the attacking players, and not. He mentioned in his interview after, didn't he, that Hunt wasn't right and that Sousa was injured. So I think we've also a little bit unfortunate that our more potent attacking players are. There's a few of them missing at the minute, and like Jordan said and like you said, I also think that he maybe thought, like the rest of us, that we had two players for most positions, and maybe that second player that's coming in at the minute isn't offering an alternative that's as strong as he hopes.
It's slightly worrying, isn't it? We've also got a couple of who we'd expect to be pivotal attacking players to be permanently on the injury list. I'm sure we'll go back to it at some point, but looking at like Scannell, Joel Grant and Max Wright, who all of which have played very little part in this season so far. You've got three attacking players there that you would hope to be the ones that would be contributing and being those additional players. So then already you've got a depleted squad before you're even looking at the other options that are available to you that are now like Will and alike who are and Sousa who aren't there. And then you throw COVID on top of it, and after John Tonda erroneous accidentally revealed it was a Fete that was shielding during commentary last week. It can throw all parts of it into it, and it's one of the problems that Hurst may have because he likes to run with a small squad. Maybe, hey, if we'd have gone with the Holloway idea and had 95 players, we'd be all right at the moment, but it's not necessarily the case we've got at the moment. Jordan, how did Kidderminster fare? Were they a team? It's another because what I just want to say, it's another semi-professional team that we've fallen to. I'm not sure about Bromley. One of you guys might know, but they certainly were semi-professional last time we played them. Maidenhead are, Wealdstone are. Is this? Were you surprised by their fitness levels? It seemed like a lot of Kidderminster fans were quite impressed with how they played.
Absolutely, I think you could tell they definitely wanted more. You see that the first 20 odd minutes or so they were trying to get balls. Two of their strikers from outpaced the defender. They constantly worked hard. They forced us into some errors at all. We didn't get going. Shots wise and attempts. To be fair, they didn't really have many. Neither did we. To be fair, but they just seemed more up for it, and it really was a hard watch at times. But you've got to give them the utmost credit. They absolutely. At times, they absolutely run us ragged. I personally felt. I think they're going to be a really good side in that league if they're going to continue the way that they're playing, if they do play like that. Because they caused us all sorts of problems at times yesterday.
Well, we should really talk about the penalty. Bruce, you were doing a bit of preparation pre-match. What was your assessment? Pre-match, pre-pod?
I think he stuck his leg out and gave the guy the opportunity to go over it.
Yeah, I got to agree. I can't really sort of complain about the penalty. Really, it was just one of those. I don't understand why he's given him that option. Jordan, you were there. I assume it was the other end of the pitch, was it not? So I guess you didn't get an amazing view of it. Have you had a chance to look back at the footage now?
I've had a look back at it. Initially, I thought, it was a pen. And looking back on it, I think my instincts came clear. I think it's a pen. I've got no real complaints on that. Good.
Hang on. I'm just going to... Does that work? Here we go. Yeah. Look, I just don't think... You can't stick your leg out like that. And he kind of... He's quite flat-footed. And Hurst was quite critical of the stuff that, led up to it, really. Talking around, the position of the players, allowing them to get forward, get to the byline and such. He said there's a fair few mistakes before he even got into the box anyway. He seems to be getting quite critical of the players at the moment. Maybe... I don't know if it's rightly so or not. I mean, he's the manager. There was also then a call for a penalty with Clifton shortly after. Did you see that one? And it's unfortunately not on the highlights.
It's a shame it's not on the highlights because I'd be curious to see that back. But to be fair, I initially thought it was, if I'm going to be totally honest. But like I said, I can't really confirm it because there's no highlights to show it. But that's my initial thoughts. I think he's just clipped him from behind and just won't give it. Really annoying. But like I said, I'd be curious to see that back. I just wish there was a replay for that. But my initial thought was a pen as well.
The FA Cup again treats us so terribly. I'm quite happy to say it's the worst cup competition we are ever in. It treats us with disdain. But one thing I did want to sort of talk about was the sort of the rub of the green and such, and I don't think we've necessarily felt very lucky this year, this season so far. Bruce, I did show you the table. You weren't particularly too bothered by it, but what it was essentially just saying is, from the opportunities we'd had, we should actually have a penalty more, but I've actually scored less. So I guess it's more looking at things like the Stockport County game, which that goal was chalked off. Ian, what were you going to say?
I thought I read it the other way around, Alex, that we've actually got something like 3 points more than we should have.
I've got it the wrong way around then.
So in actual fact, our feeling that we've maybe not had the rub of the green is probably actually a bit wrong based on a few judgment calls. And it was something I was actually thinking. Would I be right in saying we've given away 2 penalties this year, Wealdstone and yesterday?
Yeah.
and we've actually missed more than we've conceded penalties wise. So that probably says something about where the rub of the green is. And I think there's a bit of a confirmation bias that we remember the stuff that's gone against us, but we don't necessarily remember the stuff that's gone for us. A lot, and that's all football fans right the way across the board. That's not us four sitting here or Town fans. That's everybody, because you only really remember the time when, at the end of the season, when so and so should have been sent off against us and he wasn't. But then we maybe forget that, like, you know, Ben Fox later on in the season went in 2-footed on somebody and got away with it or something.
Well,
like that.
can you remember any that have sort of gone for us this season? I'm trying to think of Stockport County's goal shouldn't have been disallowed, so we should have had hopefully 2 points there. Additionally, you've got the sending off that should have been against Dover, which effectively didn't affect the game, but he's through on goal and he's pulled back. That should have been a red. Are there any others that have gone for us this season?
I think a couple of the penalties that have gone our way have been a little bit soft, maybe. Now,
don't say that to Mr. Sargent.
They've not affected the game necessarily, but I think there's a couple in there that have been a little bit soft. But again, like you say, like I've just said, it's hard to say that because the first thing that sticks out in my mind as a decision that didn't go our way was I thought Wrexham's goal should have been disallowed when we beat them.
Oh yeah, there's that one too.
But that's what I mean. The ones that go against you are the ones that stick in your mind because we've got this attitude of conference refs, they're all crap, blah blah blah, and we're almost looking out for them to make a mistake rather than the ones that are having a decent game and there isn't anything to report on necessarily because, you know, even yesterday you three have all just said you think it was a penalty. I think it was a penalty, having seen it as well. But again, underneath Town's tweeting yesterday, there's quite a few people saying 1-0 to the ref. And it's like we're always looking for something to blame rather than just going, we probably weren't good enough on the day.
Well, I get, for those of you who are listening, I guess, can you think of anything that's gone our way this season from an official's point of view? I mean, by all means, sort of correct me, but I still think that we've had some pretty poor refereeing decisions go against us and have not helped. But I mean, maybe we're looking at those options now. I mean, what do we do to turn this around? We've got Aldershot coming up, and there is no, probably a month ago, it would have been better to play Aldershot, but they are a team that are struggling. Lost to Bauer and Pitsea in the FA Cup, have been struggling for any points after Dover. I don't think there's a worse team in the league, and the feeling around here, because this is where I am, is that they're a team that are about to head for National League South. They've brought in a young guy on loan from QPR this week. I have no idea what he's like. They've got a game on Tuesday night against Wrexham, which was their shithouse game when they were losing, I think it was 3-0 at half time. And as it was hammering it down, their ground staff made no attempt to make sure that the pitch was okay. And just so the game got called off, and now they're facing off again this week, which meant that their one of their Hollywood owners got a bit mouthy on Twitter about it. It's an opportunity, at least, to get going. It'd be nice to know what other people are feeling, how you guys are feeling, and whether or not I was fully expecting this. It felt like everything was going a little bit too well, and almost like the longer it goes on, the more you feel like you're losing. Jordan, how have you felt with the season so far? It'd be good to get a sort of, we can get Ian's as well, actually. But in terms of how you felt this club, how it's been going, did you expect us to continue this going as well, or is it sort of a return to the mean?
Yeah, pretty much. Obviously, this run wasn't going to last forever. We were going to get a period where, we were dropping points, losing games. Obviously, yesterday there weren't any points to play for. It was going to happen, and I think it's more a case of reality. I feel personally, it's just it's going to happen to pretty much every team that that's always at the top, because you need like stupid amount of points to win the league anyway, or to get in playoffs at least. But it was always going to happen. I feel, especially with injuries and other contributing factors. Pretty much.
And Ian, how have you been feeling? So first, actually, Chris Foxcroft said that there was a pen a few weeks back, probably against Dover, where he thought that there was a handball which was harsh in his opinion, worked in our favour, and he thinks it might have been the Dover game. Chris, thank you very much. If there's any others where you think the refereeing has actually helped us this season, it would be really good to hear from you, because I ain't seen none of it. So please do feel free to help sort me out and stop my just starting a conspiracy theory over here, and I'll start wearing a tinfoil hat, and it'll be me and Danny Rose doing a podcast instead. Ian, how have you felt about the season so far? Were you expecting this? Were you surprised?
Just jumping back, what was your conspiracy theory on Shithousery last year, Alex? Who was that called the game off at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon against us?
Oh, Barrow. That definitely happened. Absolutely. They trained.
Right.
Right, hang on. I'm going to do this meme bit. I should just need a wall now of, Post-it notes. But they trained that day. Barrow trained the day that the game was called off. How many other teams would you know that train on the day?
Alex Rose over there, ladies and gents. This season, I mean, nobody would have expected the start we had, I don't think. I mean, we came out the blocks like a train. Got some good results against teams that will be up and around us. Stockport, obviously Wrexham as well. Torquay, I know, may not be up and around us this year because of different things, but they were still playoff finalists last year. We were always going to have a blip at some point. I think the only thing that would seem to be a bit of a frustration is that we do seem to be reliant on one or two players for our quality going forwards. And it's something you mentioned, obviously, earlier with, I think, Bruce as well, that we've got a few injuries in that area at the moment. I think there is a legitimate bit of criticism for Hurst coming his way in that all of those three players that we mentioned that have missed a lot of the season in Wright, Scannell.
Ian's starting the Hurst out train.
No, absolutely not. No, Wright, Scannell and Grant all have pretty severe injury records in the past. And, I mean, Scannell, something we were talking about last season, but he's never played more than 10 games in a year. Now, obviously, Hurst has seen something. There's absolutely no doubt Scannell's got quality.
Ever?
Well, for 5 seasons, I think it is.
Okay,
fine. Played more than 10 games in a year for 5 seasons.
Yeah, I think 2017, 2018 was same sort of thing. Fine. I was like, Ever. It's like, yeah, maybe we should get rid of this bloke.
But there's presumably not a lot of chance of that improving. Max Wright has got quality, but we know has unfortunately got issues with injury that hopefully can get resolved. But I'm not saying we should have got rid of Max, far from it, but we certainly should have considered perhaps that we needed more backup in place. And I know that Hurst has obviously been looking for somebody. He said that he's turned somebody down because he didn't think he'd be the right fit for the dressing room. And that's a fantastically brave decision to make, really, because we know that fans are all clamouring for this goal-scoring striker to come in. But there is a legitimate now need to get somebody in. We've almost, to a degree, missed the boat a little bit because now we're talking about 3 or 4 games with a lack of goals and we're desperate for somebody to come. Whereas before we were scoring them and it's like, look at what you could be part of, lads, here. We're creating chances, we're getting goals in. So there's going to be an interesting maybe 2 or 3 weeks, I think, where I wouldn't be surprised for somebody to be announced quite quickly, particularly with McAtee out for a couple more weeks as well yet.
It's a real odd one, isn't it? Stuart Johnson says maybe Scannell will get a game at the end of the season. I mean, I'll be honest, if he's not playing regularly by January, I don't know how about you guys, but just get him off the books. Like, you don't need him around the squad. What do you think?
No, if he's not getting regular, if he's not getting into the squad by January, he's got to go. I mean, he's got to be a decent level earner as well. Whether that is somebody coming in for him and taking him down a couple of leagues where maybe the level suits him fitness-wise a bit more, or even just sort of go, thanks, but no thanks, Sean.
Because, I mean, even if he's a very positive person to have in the squad, just a guy coming in and going, you're right, Scan's back this week. Oh, no, I dropped a milk bottle on my foot and I'm going to be out for 6 weeks. It can't be doing much for morale in the team, can it? He's just taking up a peg. I think someone said that they'd worked out that he'd played for the games we've played him roughly £9,000 per game at the moment, over 18 months, which is quite a worrying statistic. But hey, we can't have Scannell as the outman. He hasn't done anything. He hasn't done anything wrong technically. He's the first one to get moody with Holloway at least. Well, I mean, where do you think the problems lie then? Where do you think that? I mean, can I ask something? We've lost it. I was talking about in sort of around the fitness terms when we're talking about losing to Wealdstone and drawing with Maidenhead and losing to Kidderminster, and we obviously lost to Bromley. Is there a problem with the players in terms of getting themselves up for games against what would, at a glance, be seen as inferior opposition?
I don't think you're ever going to be on your top game. I mean, that Maidenhead game that we bring up, if we hadn't have drawn the last two games, then, lost the last two games, or three games, I don't think we'd be talking about the Maidenhead game, because one game like that in isolation is okay, isn't it? I think, like you say, it's only been highlighted because, but the Notts County game, we did create chances, we just didn't take them. I think we had 15 shots to their 2, and I think we had one shot on target. That was just wasteful. But the other two games, I do agree that we've looked well off the pace, and Hurst has said that after. I'm not in the panic camp. I'm not ready to do that. If we haven't turned it around after these next two games, then we aren't going to get a better opportunity to do it. And
that's probably why I bring it up as well, because of the Notts County game, I feel that was a really good performance, and we were just unlucky to lose that one, and maybe the McAtee injury and such didn't help us convert the chances we had. So because we were so good, it's easy to get up for a game against Notts County where you're going, oh, hang on, lads, this is a big game. There's going to be a big crowd. Let's get sort of, motivated. And then we go straight off the back of that to Kidderminster, and we come off straight off the back of Wealdstone. That's what I'm slightly concerned, is that a Paul Hurst team, to me, always treats a team with the same sort of level of respect in terms of where they're playing them and who they're playing. When he's talking about, this is all hypothetical, is that one of the things that he's concerned about? The fact that these players aren't getting themselves up for the games where we're struggling. And if we've got Aldershot in a couple of days, in a couple of weeks' time, where a team second bottom who are absolute dog shit, to be perfectly honest, that we could be in for another problem.
I hope not. But just taking it back sure, to the question you asked Jordan and Ian a few minutes ago, I'm not a professional footballer. I'm a semi-professional supporter, but I did get to the stage where you went to a game and you thought we're going to win. We're going to win today. I went to Wealdstone was the first one where I just thought we'd turn up and we'd win. And that's just being honest. The way that the season had started, the way that they were performing, and they put a shift in on the day we didn't get going. And I wonder if part of the problem is that the players started to subconsciously think the same. Like you say, that we were going to just turn up and win, and we've suffered from players that have got injuries and maybe a little bit of complacency, and that's maybe something Hurst was talking about yesterday, about the hunger of the players and the ones that have come in and them being effective enough. Maybe they got like me and thought that we just turn up and we win against some of these teams. So it'll be interesting to see on Saturday at Aldershot, where you suspect there isn't going to be a very good atmosphere. It's going to be quite flat. There'll be a reasonable town following, but we've already talked about, the atmosphere.
We haven't actually, so we didn't get through that. So
we talked to the last pod, didn't we, about the atmosphere?
No, we didn't get to your theory.
All right, okay. Well, I'll just finish this then. But yeah,
and then because I want the ire to be concentrated on you rather than the players, so they can focus on stuff, and then you can get the abuse and they can prepare better. So Bruce has got a thought process for all you Southern Mariners out there. I know Mike's on, and I'm here as well. He's got a thought process around the London-based games and why they are lacking in atmosphere. But until we get onto that, he's got something else to say first.
That was your words. No, that was your words.
And it's just so you know, his Twitter account is _Fenners. Okay, we can also give out his email if you want it.
Jordan, what was the atmosphere like yesterday? I could hear the town fans on the radio. Was it okay for the main, or was it reasonably flat?
At times, I thought it was quite flat. Of course, going into it, Kidderminster is always a class day out. I certainly enjoyed myself having a couple. But yeah, it just seemed quite flat from the off, if I'm going to be totally honest. It was sort of the fact that, coming into this on 2 defeats on the bounce, FA Cup, what would normally be I say a good chance, but you can't ever predict what happens in the FA Cup, can you? But yeah, I definitely agree. It was quite flat in certain aspects. And I think, as soon as we went 1-0 down, 20 minutes to go, with the team not looking like they were going to get back into it, and I think that rubbed onto the pitch. I say it rubbed onto the pitch, it rubbed onto the fans as well. It's just wasn't great, going to be honest. But
just
not
before
that...
you do your theory, Bruce, that I can't believe that this is Jordan's first time on and you've tried to drag him down with you before you've given your theory. Absolutely pass the book to Jordan.
Shall I start getting dinos? I will go down with this ship on.
I was using Jordan. Obviously, we were in the Midlands yesterday, and I just wanted to see, because this started a few weeks ago, because Alex had talked about there you go, another name mentioned. Alex had talked about the fact that the games that he'd been to, which were the southern-based games predominantly, Bromley, which you can excuse the atmosphere because it was pretty horrendous, but Bromley, Maidenhead.
That was the better one, because everyone had that sort of I am Sparta feel. I was essentially almost Shawshank Redemption, ripped my shirt off as I am getting drowned. I've never been drowned in the air before, but it was so bad. It was terrible, but that was probably the better atmosphere.
But yeah, the flatness, and I just wondered when we were talking about it after we finished the pod last week that when we go down south and we get 300-400 extra on the gate of the southern-based Mariners, whether some of them are people, and this is not, like I say, not a criticism.
You don't need to caveat it; it's fine.
Some of them are not are people that they've gone because they're not all huge football fans, and it's their local team perhaps that's playing down in that area, if that makes sense. My hometown club are playing, and maybe they're not up with all the songs. And like I say, I'm not generalising across everybody, but they're going because, like I say, to support their hometown team rather than being hardcore town fans. And that's
I agree. And you also made another point as well, that sort of like, and it's the same for me next week when we go to play Aldershot. I'm bringing 3 or 4 people from my five-a-side team, and my next door neighbour's coming, who's a Dundee fan, and someone from work is coming as well. And we bring these players, and so there's one town fan in a group of 10, and the other 9 are there to experience it.
Yeah, they've gone for the experience. So I can only talk about the atmospheres, the best atmospheres. I've missed a few games this season. The best atmospheres were at probably Altrincham and Stockport. They were probably good. But then you get down to Torquay, you see. But then Torquay is exceptional because that's not close. That's down south, but it's not close to the majority of people that live down south. That's an effort wherever you live, unless you're probably Oliver in Plymouth, which is probably still miles away. But yeah, so it's like I say, just we were banding ideas about, and I just wondered if that made any sense or not.
I think it does.
Mike thinks not, but he's biased.
I think it does. I mean, I'll go through. So Stuart Johnson talking around. We'll go back to it in 2 seconds. Stuart Johnson said he wants Scannell paid off and get someone in for him and Max Wright. Mike McMahon said we call Sean Scannell Scans because he's always going for one. He then also said that your theory is rubbish. And said I think it's got something to do with most stands being 4 or 5 rows deep and quite spread out, which is another good point. None of them are really designed for that big noise. Also, because they're quite full, like at Maidenhead, my first game back, you were under the old rickety bike shed, and I was quite keen to get down there, but it's so full, you can't really, unless you take a barge board with you, you're not getting there, are you? Really?
There's too many of us. Then
we're just too big. We're too big. Leeds wouldn't even take more. Jordan, have you got any thoughts on this? This may be just something that obsessed. This is the podcast version of Leeds would take more and away attendances. It's sort of like how loud we are. What have your thoughts have been with following town? Do you think people are struggling to get back into the swing of it? Or do you think because we've no longer got a supervillain to sort of direct our anger towards, that people are a little bit lost? Or is it something as not as complicated as any of that?
No, I don't personally think so. It's just case as it is. You see the results, obviously not been great past couple of results. And obviously results. I mean, obviously the results have not been great. Performances bar Notts, unlucky not to get something from that. Like I said, I think the crowds would suffer. It's a really weird one for me. We'll just have to see where it goes. Obviously, there's no pantomime Villa, like you said, to really get on the back of, really. So I'm for one, I'm certainly curious of where this will go in terms of the following.
It's an interesting one because it certainly feels like, going back to when we were talking about getting the rub of the green against Maidenhead, the only time it felt really like both the team and the fans were getting behind them was once we had that pretty poor decision given by the referee, and everyone felt that was your that was your supervillain to sort of get behind and sort of have a go at. And it felt almost similar to Dover. I don't know, Bruce, Ian, you guys were there. Like when that referee made that decision to not send the guy off, it gave both the players and the fans a bit of a lift. Like, well, fuck you. We're having it. I don't know if that. Do you think we need a terrible referee to make a decision after 5 minutes to get everybody going, really?
Earlier, you were complaining about not getting the rub of the green. Now it's like, we need not to get the rub of the green to get a result.
I am a complicated man. I'm going very talk sport this year. Just going to, give loads of stupid opinions. I'm going to be Robbie Savage.
Don't do it.
What do you mean this year?
Yeah, this year. Rude.
True.
Now I know why you're not on.
It's the same with Wrexham, wasn't it? Like I say, the goal that we gave a guy against Wrexham, which for me was a foul, the crowd really got up after it. And that, again, it's the same with football fans up and down. We all want something to rally against and a bit of tribalism to help us get on the case. And, there's nothing quite so much like feeling everything's go against you. It's a better feeling than winning 5-0 in many cases when you actually then get the result. A comfortable 5-0 stroll, the atmosphere tends to be flatter than a game where you feel like you have played against 11 men plus the ref and you've snuck a 1-0 or a 2-1 or whatever against the odds. So, you're probably right with what you're saying there, to be fair, that we need something to go against us to get that. But I can see something in Bruce's things as well. I'll give him a little bit of credit. I can see some ideas behind what he's saying there. And it might be the case, but, I by the same measure, I wouldn't want any of the Southern Mariners to think we were criticising, because at the end of the day, the followings we do get away from home are always mega in terms of numbers and everything like that. And it's a shame some of them, Alex, can't come to Blundell Park and put some money in the coffers there as well.
I've got to pay for this podcast. Chris Foxcroft said, fans and players work in hand. Sometimes the crowd will go a bit flat as players. We need a moment of inspiration to ignite the atmosphere on the pitch and lift the players. How have you guys found the atmosphere at Blundell Park? Has that improved with the larger followings there, or has it been, relatively quiet? Again, as Ian has alluded to, I haven't even been yet, so I'm not even sure what a full Blundell Park looks like unless Newcastle are there. Because it certainly won't be Lincoln.
It's been decent in patches. It's certainly loud when we get going. I think one of the most impressive stands has always been the upper Findus when they get singing. But it's probably the biggest seating area in the ground, isn't it?
Jason Stockwood doing it, is it?
Yeah. But no, it is, and you can hear the pontoon more than a handful of times a game from down the Osman end. So yeah, I think the atmosphere has definitely got better, and I'm hopeful that a week on Friday for the Southend game, that we'll still see a decent home turnout, and like Tom said, or you said on Twitter, that habits are being formed and people go not just because it's a big game. I mean, we've played, was it 6 home games or something we'd played, or 7, was it? I can't remember what they'd and we'd won 6 on the spin, hadn't we? Or was it 5? We got a really good record, but we still sold out against Notts County and lost that one. So hopefully we'll see the same numbers and the same habits. But I did see that since the start of the season, we've also sold another 350 season tickets. That's up to 3,350, I think, now. Which is excellent. People deciding that they're going to have to get a season ticket, so they don't have to keep buying one and trying to get one. In the lower, especially, people have to get in really early to get a seat nowadays, which is brilliant. and long may it continue. But obviously, a resurgence in form. But I can just see, and I hope I'm right. I can just see that in 2 weeks' time, we've won those 2 games. Have we got a game a week on Tuesday between those games? Have we got Solihull, or is that after? Is that after Southend? I think it is, isn't it?
One moment, please.
I think we've got next Saturday at Aldershot. Ian's had enough. I think next Saturday at Aldershot.
Oh, it really was one movement.
Yeah, I think
I'm right. Yeah, I think I'm right in saying that Solihull's 23rd.
Yeah, because we're not going to play Tuesday then Friday, are we?
Yeah, of
so
course.
yeah, that'll be right, Alex. It'll be Aldershot on Saturday, and then Southend next Friday. So we could easily be sat here talking, hopefully, about what we've been worrying about for the last couple of weeks. And McAtee's back next week. Positive.
Ian's properly gone. Ian's properly gone. I don't think there's anything to worry about. I think the start to the season has given us all an opportunity to really enjoy ourselves, and it's going to be a real test of everybody to go along. And I hope when it comes to Southend and Aldershot, people get down there and make a noise and put their bums on seats, because this is when it's sort of not the fandom is tested, but that like this is where you need to keep it going and keep that momentum going. It's been a great start, and I don't think anyone, even the owners, would have thought in their wildest dreams it would have started this well. And we've forgotten how much of a shit show this league is this season. You've got Chesterfield throwing out money. Reports are that they'd offered money to get Luke Waterfall this week as well, though I haven't really got anything confirmed about that. They'd offered to get Luke Waterfall off our hands as well, that we rejected it. They're splashing cash, even though they were shaking a bucket for Coppers just a couple of seasons ago. You had the same with with Stockport and Wrexham, who've got so much cash in the hand, and then you've got just someone like Boreham Wood, who've just they're the team that are on it. They're the Braintree this season, who have just got things sorted and are going really well. They got that money from Tishmanga and are spending it and doing it well. We're up against it this season, and I doubt there are many League Two clubs that would be able to survive in this season, in this league this year. I think if we get to the playoffs, I think it's an achievement. We were the team that finished bottom of the Football League last season and were the banter club of the whole Football League. And to turn around as we've done is a point of ourselves. I would love us to win the league, and we've still got an opportunity to do so. It's just whether or not. And I don't want Hurst to run out there and grab 4 strikers just because they're available. If they're shit or their personalities are terrible, I don't want them. I don't want 4 Danny Roses, even if they're going to score me 9 goals this season. Like, I don't want somebody there, just being a prick and disrupting the group. Because what we've learned from Hurst is he does take a bit of time to build his squad, and it might take a year to get the guys in that he wants. But that's how it's got to be, and that's how the real world is. And we can't expect absolute solutions. Hey, we can't go out and just get Sadio Mane or something like that because we feel like we can do. We've got a bit of cash, but we can't compete with some of them, and we just got to get ready for it. I don't know how people feel. Maybe that's my positivity, Bruce. That sounded negative.
I think that we should finish the pod on that, because that was a rallying call that's made me feel a lot better, and also made me feel a bit of a wanker for thinking that we were going to sit top of the table all season.
I would love it.
And get complacent. If we aren't top, I'm going to not be disappointed anymore.
Well, 1 point,
you're right. You're right, and I just got carried away like an idiot, really.
But you want to do, and we all did. It's like I went to Wealdstone going, we'll smash these. I was on the radio at Radio Humberside saying that we'll smash Notts County. And by the way, even though we're now friends, you can't keep us off air for 10 minutes, so we have to listen to fucking Keith Hill banging on about losing. Like, get on the town commentary, get a decent team on. I don't give a crap about those lot. There'll be a National League North next in 2 years' time. No one cares. So, stop putting them on the radio. So that's another bit. I'm not going to be allowed back on now.
I've got people at my door with sticks.
Oh, did you say trick?
No sticks.
Are they Southern Mariners after what you've just said about
I think they're relatives. I think they're relatives.
Jordan, how have you found it all? I mean, while Bruce is getting attacked in the purge, how have you found the season? Are you going? He's gone.
He's gone.
Oh, they've cut the internet. How have you found it all, and how are your thoughts on Jason and Andrew taking over, and how have you felt that the club is going? And is there anything that they need to do more of, or anything to improve on? Have you been surprised? Whatever your general thoughts. Really. My questions are terrible.
Well, there's no doubt that I'm absolutely pleased with the start of the season we've had. Obviously, we were not good. I don't think we'd win the league, but I think it was more of a case after the season that we had last year, if we could maybe regroup and hopefully try and have a good push towards the playoffs. For me, that's a successful season. It's going to take time. Obviously, with the new ownerships coming in, Jason and Andrew they've been absolutely brilliant in some of the stuff they've changed as well. Just the food in it, we could just have the food in itself, to be honest with you. Just a massive improvement all around, and it's really shown on the pitch as well. Obviously, we know what Paul Hurst is like from his last spell. He was gonna put a team together who works hard and gives it a good go. And for pretty much most of the season, we've done exactly that. We've just blown teams away. The one game I missed at home was the Dover game. Went to watch Derby. Drew 0-0 that day, and I checked my phone. We were winning 5-0 after. I thought, oh, for God.
Did you get the train up for the second half? Is that?
I wanted to with the. Oh, it was such a poor game. Must have spent about 20 quid on that. It was.
That's proper student talk. That
yeah.
I spent a whole £20.
I could just get a 20 quid train back to Grimsby. Yeah, I was good about that. But look, I'm personally pleased with the start. Obviously, there is parts of our game we do need to improve on and off the pitch. Obviously, you've got the whole striker scenario you can maybe talk about other days. But I mean, I sort of sat back on the fence at the minute. I saw the squad looking at it, and you think, right, we look a bit lightweight up top. I sort of left it for a bit because the team was firing, but I think at times now we can really see that we do need another option. Certainly, creative. We've not really created enough for him either. So you'd probably argue that point as well. To be honest, I'm really happy with the start we've made, especially recovering from last season. I think was going to be quite a tough job in itself as to how poor we was. Pretty much watching every game last season. Some stuff was broken to say the least. Absolutely furious.
And we've got
depressing.
Yeah. And we've got Aldershot next, and that's a real game that everyone should come down to. I'm absolutely biased, but it is a wonderful old football ground, and the way things are going, they might not be playing there for much longer. There are constant talks about it being redeveloped. So if you want to get yourself into an old barreled stadium, barreled stand, it's beautiful to get into. You can make a real racket. And I hope as many of you will come down here. It's a nice town. It is very similar to Grimsby, not just because all the shops are shut. It is a nice little place to have a drink and go looking around the old army base as well. So hopefully everyone will get down here. Ian, are you coming? Or are you going to stay up north?
Unfortunately, at the moment, like with work, I cannot get away on Saturday, so I will not be down.
It. That's fine. I mean, it's only Aldershot. It's a shithole. But I mean, so Stuart Johnson's just asked a couple of questions. He says he's just wondered if Hurst has done any scouting in the Conference North. I've done the same as you, Stuart. I've had a look at sort of all the teams that who scored 15 in the first 10 games. I don't know. Most of them are sort of players that you'd expect, like not massive, have played higher levels and haven't really kicked on. It's kind of what I would never worry about Hurst finding strikers. I don't know how you gents feel. I don't think there's a better man that can find a striker. I'm sure he'll bring someone in we've never heard of. He did with McAtee.
I think generally right across the board, Hurst's transfers coming in are usually pretty decent. Even I know we're talking about being a lightweight in a couple of areas this season, but generally speaking, everybody he's brought in has shown that they can do something or bring something to the squad. Maybe with one or two people that we haven't seen yet for injuries that we've mentioned. But honestly, I think Hurst, even in his first spell, generally everybody he brought in did the job that he wanted and expected of them.
And it might just take a bit of time to build it, that's all. It just takes a bit of time. and I was trying to look through the 2016 squad and going, who would we change? There's a few players I'd change. I'd like, and I mean, look at who we got promoted with. We're talking about being lightweight. We had Bogle and Hammond up front, with Hoban and Pittman up there as well. They're 4 decent strikers. Who and who else have we got? Have I missed anyone, Ian? I'm sure I have.
From this season,
Up front, who did we have in 2016, 2015, 2016? I went with Hoban, Pittman, Bogle, and Hammond.
I think you're probably right. I mean, obviously we
Jordan, you got
push
one?
Arnold quite wide up, but obviously he was more of a winger. I think you probably bang on. I think Ben Tomlinson played part of the season for us that year, didn't he, as a striker, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a weird one. And talking of, and Stuart asked about investors. I certainly something they're looking at, and I can imagine they will do it slowly. But I think they're quite happy with what we've got at the moment. And hey, if Dembele gets sold, we don't even have to worry about lecherous former owners taking as much money out of the coffers as they can. They're looking at selling him for 7 to 8 million. Gentlemen, we will end on that one. Do you think there is any way, with 6 months left on his contract, Peterborough are getting 7 to 8 million for Siriki Dembele? Jordan?
The obvious question is no. Or the obvious answer is no, I should say. It's just not going to happen.
It's the situation. He's got 6 months left on his deal, has told the club he's leaving, and they think they're going to get 7 to 8 million from him in January, yeah?
Yeah.
No chance.
Yeah, exactly.
Not in a million years. Not in a million years.
Well, we hope they do. Prove us wrong, Peterborough. Prove us wrong. Chris Foxcroft has just said, nope, not a chance. Is there anything else we want to cover before we go? There hasn't been much other than that. No. Okay.
Really.
Jordan, thank you so much for joining us. Ian, pleasure to have you as well.
Thanks, Alex.
Yeah. Glad to have you. Thank you, man. Good luck with everything. Hopefully you'll be back on soon as well. We can, especially when none of us can be bothered to go to the game.
Yeah, for sure.
It is. Do you know what? I'm really looking forward to Aldershot. It's going to be fun. I'm just wondering now, does Bruce mean that we should all wear some to make ourselves easy identifiable for those who are happy to sing? Maybe we should have to wear black shirts or something like that, like they do in Crystal Palace. Maybe not black shirts.
Whoa.
The connotations are wrong.
Taking a different turn there, Alex.
Yeah.
As I said it, I was like, no, that's not right.
So Alex's next themed away day, by the way, is Nazi youth.
It's got to have and this. Could you imagine that in Aldershot?
500 town fans rocking up as dressed as black shirts. Yeah,
just dressing. Yeah, all these photos outside the Paras Regiment and the like. That'd have been hilarious. It'd not live long.
Pulling out the Wayne Hennessy excuse. I was just waving to my friend.
Yeah, over there. Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much all for joining us. Racism, our national front aside, hopefully you'll come and join us again next Sunday. We'll have a chat through everything from Aldershot. Don't worry about everything. It's going to be fine. The FA Cup was for losers anyway. But there we are. Thank you all so much. Jordan, Ian, thank you again. Speak to you all very soon. I am properly filling until I can find the video. There we go. See you all later. Bye.
Bye.